how do you begin that healing journey?
First things first. Somebody comes to my office, they have my respect. They are human beings. They deserve the best treatment. And when people experience that, and that doesn't mean I'm a superhuman or anything like that, but I have a deep, deep respect for humanity, really. And I also realize that not all of humanity is as respectful as we wish it would be. But I just have this like innate feeling and attitude that there's a child of God sitting across from me. And
Right.
I'm here to, I'm a tool. I mean, yeah, I've studied and all of that, but I'm
No,
being used as a tool, you
I've been
know,
called a tool a couple of times in my life too.
and you know what? And I'm good with that. So in depth psychology and, you know, Carl Jung actually said something so amazing. He said many, many amazing things. But one thing I really, really love, he talked about the third in the room. It's me, it's the patient, and it's the third. Whatever
Right.
that is for
The
us.
higher power, so to
Higher
speak.
power, God,
Right.
spirit, universe, whatever that is, there is a third in the room. And to be aware of that, you know, and to just keep that in the forefront. The other thing he also said, I got some really simple messages. They were so powerful in my graduate school, which was probably life saving. He also said, learn everything there is to learn. And when you go into the room, forget everything that you have ever learned. And I love that because, like,
That's interesting. Yeah. It keeps
what's
the
good
ego.
for you is not
Right.
good for the next person or the next person or the next person, you know?
Right. Well, the recovery journey is unique to the individual themselves, and
Yeah.
I do want. There's a couple of things I want to touch on here. I'm going to get to the reason why I got this is part of chapter 5, the stages of recovery. That's why I was trying to lead into that. But I'm glad that you mentioned a third in the room, because on page 64 of the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, there's a quote, and it says, especially when it comes to attitudes, because we talked about homicidality, suicidality, and whatnot. It says, resentment is the number one offender. It destroys more alcoholics. In this case, anybody who's got any type of dysfunction. But resentment is the number one offender. It destroys more alcoholics than anything else. From it stem all forms of spiritual disease. For we have been not only mentally and physically ill, we have been spiritually sick. When the spiritual malady is overcome, we straighten out mentally and physically. In dealing with resentments, we set them on paper, right? This would be considered our fourth step. We
Right.
listed people and institutions or principles with whom we are angry, and we asked ourselves why we are angry. In most cases, was found that our self-esteem, our pocketbooks, our ambitions, and our personal relationships. Um, so in that, it's like when you say the third in the room, it's like when you bring in God, and in my book I even mentioned it. It's like you have to bring something in your life that's going to keep you spiritually accountable, and there's just that absolute important part of it. And so this is kind of a segue into your book. uh our thinking, well, it's like, I'll just go ahead and read it. It says, in our black and white world, it was always been all or nothing, right? It was always black and white thinking, right? For as long as we have lived, eventually our past negative experiences will gradually be less and less capable of haunting us in the way they did for way too long. So getting back to what I was saying in regards to this, the journey, it's like how do you help your customers, clients, patients, if you will, um, transition from that black and white, all or nothing. Because as an alcoholic, and believe me, and even an Al-Anon, I don't really differentiate the two. Only one is wet and one is dry, because the thinking and the mentality is absolutely the same. How do you transition, and how do you get them to broaden their scope instead of removing the blinders, so to speak?
Ah, there's so much to say about it. So,
I
first of
know.
all,
That's why I asked.
first of all, first of all, To me, it's respect. I don't see myself as the expert, and the other person is like this low person. We are two people who are trying to work together and are trying to help. For me, I'm coming from the medical model. I call it patience. I'm trying to help the patient to see themselves in a different light and to gain tools that they never had or sharpen them. P.S. I want to say something really quick about defense
Sure.
mechanisms, and don't
Absolutely.
let me wander off. Get me right
All
back.
right.
But I want to say something about defense mechanisms. We're not trying to get rid of our defense mechanisms. We're trying to modify them. If dissociation or zoning out has helped me, it comes in helpful every once in a while, but not in like important situations and
To
not,
tune out the noise, I got it.
yeah, you tune it out and you're like, or anything. Now, I'm not talking about the alcohol, but like you said, so sometimes withdrawal is not the worst thing in the world if I do it all the time. So I can be very quiet. I have my alone time. I love my alone time. I can
Right.
also go out and like entertain a whole auditorium and make them crack up. But I like to have the choice.
Right.
And I'd like to know when it's time for me to just go inside, to slow it down, to calm down. And so I just want to make sure don't get rid of all the defense mechanisms
Well,
because
I
when we
think
dial them down
right.
and use them and modify them, they can come in handy.
Well, in the program, there's the defense mechanisms, we call them character defects, right? And for me, like during my fourth step, it seemed that all of my character defects really stemmed from the root of fear. Like you said, fight, flight, and I was the one that usually either shut completely down and disassociated and didn't want to have any interaction with anybody and just turn my back and walk away, or I would fight, and there was no in between, that black and white thinking, getting back to it. So it wasn't until I started to realize that, oh wait, maybe if I like leverage the tools, like for example, I'll use a work example for it.
Mhm.
If I get a nasty gram or a nasty email for somebody, or an email that may be perceived as being nasty, maybe there is no ill intent behind that email. However, something that may come across, and right away it just like hits me in the gut. My defensive mechanism kicks in, and I
Oh,
just want to go off and start, keyboard warrior and start to attack, and that might not necessarily be the case, right?
okay.
So in the program, we learn this acronym, pause, right? Postpone action until serenity emerges.
I love it.
Sometimes that may be 24 hours, or if it comes in on Monday, it could very well wait all 96 hours until Friday until I respond, but
I agree.
not until I have. So these are some of the tools, and that's, I think, what I'm getting at is with the black and white thinking. What
Well,
tools do you provide some of your folks?
this would so the steps actually in the psychology. The
Hmm.
first one is we're poor. It's comfort. We're okay with each other. The second one is safety. I mean, obviously the office always is always safe space.
Right.
So the first step is that I know that you are going to be taken care of at home, that you have some type of resources, that you're not going to hurt yourself and all of those things, right? Then we're going to go into the next, especially for complex trauma survivors, then we're going to work with like the things that have happened. Now, while we're doing that, my job is to model. My job is to throw out tools. My job is to observe. I tell people all the time, I'm like, I pay total attention to your words. And if I use a word, it's not because I'm criticizing you, but it just made me think about something. And
Right.
I might interrupt for a moment, and I will clarify that immediately. The only reason why I interrupt is because I want to get something across I think that will help you. And I don't use
Gotcha.
that all the time. So just this way that we are dealing with each other, that we work on allowing the serenity to emerge again. It's like we don't want to react, we want to respond. It's a little bit of
Right.
different wording, but we're doing the same thing,
Well,
my opinion.
reacting is usually, for me, the way I take on that word react is that initial gut feeling that I get, or that sting, right? It's like, why did this particular situation like sting so bad or hurt so? Why do I have such a visceral um like
Reaction to it,
attention reaction to it, right?
right?
Whereas like that pause, that acronym that I said, that kind of gives me a minute to just like say, all right, well, obviously this happened to me. So it gives me an opportunity to reach out to God and give him an opportunity to say, all right, God, why did that one hurt? And typically it leads me back to the guy in the mirror, right? And so now I have to investigate that event or whatever. And once I started investigating what's going on, like, is it a part of my ego that's being attacked?
Hmm.
Are they attacking my talent, my skill set, whatever? And even when it's just like, even if something as trivial as an argument with, somebody face to face, or, getting into an online debate, it's
Right,
usually, it's like, I may just like step back for a few minutes and actually look at the words and figure out, okay, well, why did that hurt? And then come back and try to turn it around, not necessarily turn it around to cause pain, but to turn it around so that both parties are thinking more in line with what the conversation, more like a Socratic conversation. So when this horrible email comes to me at work, like I said, it may take me 96 hours to respond. However, there's going to be a series of questions that are going to be involved so that we can get clarity instead of just reacting and just going,
right.
nuts.
We
So,
may not have the 96 hours in many situations, you know. I give myself a
oh, that's a
24-hour rule.
luxury. No, that's a
Exactly.
luxury.
I
Yeah,
give
yeah.
I give myself, and I share with people, 24 hours at minimum. Sleep on it, think about it, breathe into it, take a look around, and see, and damage control always, you know.
Okay, so what do you mean by damage control? Talk to me about damage control.
Don't hurt anything that you don't want to hurt. Don't hurt
So avoid
yourself.
cleaning up on aisle 7. Meaning doing the next right thing, and maybe
Yes.
maybe the next right thing may be doing nothing, in essence.
Sometimes that's
Right.
exactly what it is. And then people say, well, how do you do that? I say, you know what I do? I take a lot of deep breath.
Right.
And when you
Meditation.
take a breath in, you will not act out.
Correct. Right.
Anger management, we teach that all the time. Breathe, get connected to the earth, even though we may be on concrete and wood and whatever, we're still connected to the earth. So really stay grounded and get your whole body involved. Get your body involved in the sense of that it can back you up. So body and mind together is another really huge step. Many, many, many people who have been through a lot of trauma have disowned the body. They're not talking to the body anymore. They may feel
Right.
betrayed. The body may feel betrayed, blah, blah, blah.
Well, the
It's
abuse that
so
we put our bodies through, right? I mean, and that
right.
manifests in all manners of addiction: nicotine, alcohol, food,
Anything.
sexual addiction. I
Yes.
mean, it's like, it's all about taking care of your temple, right? And that's one of the things that just blows me away. It's like, I completely neglected myself for years. I mean, 260 pounds, overeating, uh, you know, uh, I mean, talk about addictions. It was like, eating McDonald's 3 times a day, number two meal with a fillet of fish and an extra large exercise meat Coke and fries. It's like just constantly shoving garbage down my throat. And then I was wondering why I felt like crap all the time. Right.
Right.
So I'm sorry, I
No, I
interrupted, but I
like it.
just related so
So,
much with.
so all of those things in the course of our therapy, I mean, we're offering different ways of looking at things. I mean, I simply have credibility because I have been through this. That doesn't mean everybody has to have been through a nightmare of trauma, but it helps.
Right.
And people say, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I'm like,
You're
yeah, I do.
relatable. You understand.
Yeah.
Exactly.
If I
Yeah.
say I'm afraid to be found out, people go, been there. I'm afraid to be wiped off the globe.
Yeah.
Been there many, many years. You know what? It's not that I really want to kill myself, but I would, and then I finish the sentence, but I would love to go to sleep and not wake up.
Right.
But been there many times.
Yeah.
Been there many times. So, you know what? It's like, okay, so it happens in the relationship. I think the relationship for you, your culture, is hugely important. As you're going through your meetings and as you're growing in those relationships with others, and as you're learning from each other, we get something really, really important. Somebody cares about us, and we get to care about other people. And it's an exchange that is not abusive. It's a lot of modeling, you know. It's finding different solutions that people have never thought about. That doesn't mean I'm so smart or anything. I'll just have metaphors pop in my head and say, you know what I experienced today? And then I will use that. For example,
Right.
one popped up when you asked me what's the way of getting healing. The first time I was in Hawaii, I had to snorkel and I had to go down to the seafloor, right? It was only like 10, 12 feet or something. I was all excited. I went all the way down and I looked up and I will never forget what I saw. I saw obviously, the top of the water, and then I saw these sun rays coming in, like a whole like handful.
Yeah,
And they
yeah. I
hit
know
the
exactly.
floor. They hit the sand.
Uh-huh.
And I was just kind of sitting down there in the sand looking up, and I said, that is probably how our psyche opens up. Because psyche opens up, soul, psyche, core, whatever you want to call it.
All
When
right. I'm following. I'm tracking.
when we go and get any type of help, it goes, oh, how about this one? How about that one? How about this one? How about
Right.
that one? But this is the regulator. The person's psyche is the regulator. I'm not going to go and dig and shove and do anything. But if it shows up, I'm going to look at it. And that's another one. I never had anything like that happening in my earlier life where somebody was honoring what was going on inside of me.
Right.
I mean, you'll be in the brick wall if you say anything. But it's so important I feel, to be in tune and to listen well and pay attention and to always be open-minded and curious. Because I will always learn from everybody I talk to. I've learned from you. I learned things tonight. Pause. I love that. I'm gonna use that.
Text me. If you need a reminder, text me. I
Yeah,
got
I
a whole
will.
bunch of them. There's another good one. We mentioned ego when we mentioned ego, right? Earlier, there's a good one for that one. It's edging God out, right? So as soon
Wow.
as my ego gets involved and I want to take control of something, I know that's we talked about giving it up to God, right? And it's
Yes.
like, yeah, edging God out. And there's another great one, couple of them. It actually has 4 or 5 of them. I'm not going to remember, but fear could stand for fuck everything and run, or it could stand for face everything and recover.
I love it.
Right. So there's a whole bunch of them. I'll share them with you. No problem. You can use
I
them.
love it.
They're not.
But
They're not mine. They're not mine.
I
They're not
know.
mine to. They're only mine to give away. Right.
I know.
Because I learned these through the
I just
program.
want to specify something really quickly. Both of us have
Sure.
talked about God, and AA definitely has higher power. It's not for me to impose my belief or whatever onto anybody. And that's
Correct. Right.
hugely important for me. So whatever people believe in, I'm just going to go with that. I'm not the person who thinks there's only one way of doing that. There's 8 billion people on the globe, and there's probably as many ways to recovery from trauma, from the side effects or the long-term consequences of trauma, you know. So it's just really important that we just really honor the person and get
Well,
them.
correct. Well, I mean, you and I both believe in Jesus. So I mean, I could get that. However, you're absolutely right. Their recovery journey is, like we said earlier, we mentioned earlier, their recovery journey is unique to them. And so, whatever spiritual, in the book, I even said something along the lines, it's like, get something that's going to hold you spiritually accountable. And I made the joke of, get Jack in a Box as your higher power, but have something bigger than yourself that can help you through this. Although Jack in a Box isn't recommended.
Yeah. But I want to say something really quick. I have a
Yeah, sure.
really amazing story about somebody who was in the program of AA for like over a decade and
Uh-huh.
doing actually very well, but had complex trauma. And in this complex trauma, the family was horrendous. But guess where they went every Sunday?
Jack in a Box.
No, church.
Oh.
And it happened to be a special faith where you put your hand into the water and you put it on your
Right.
forehead, right?
I
And he
gotcha.
said to me, He said, I never wanted to stick my hand in there because I wasn't sure what that water is going to do to me. I mean, these people were proclaiming all sorts of things on Sunday, and Sunday afternoon looked different, and Monday morning looked different, right?
Hmm.
So that person has a really hard time with God, higher power, or whatever.
Right.
And so he had like a tough time. He is an amazing guy. I love working with him and the family. And somebody in AA said to him, well, maybe your God is not big enough. And I'm like, dude,
He
what
needs to
kind
get
of.
a new sponsor if his sponsor
Yeah, it
told him
wasn't
that.
his.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
actually, it was the sponsor that he chose after like 10 years or something. He had other
Yeah.
sponsors in between. But I just want to say therapy in 12-step programs, we don't have the right to say that to anybody.
No, we
I don't
don't.
have the right.
And the thing is every 12-step program, these are recommendations. There's no shoulds, because
Exactly.
shoulds, those are all shaming words. You should be doing this, or you should be doing that, or that's that's bullshit. Yeah, no,
And
I wouldn't agree with that.
we
No,
don't do
with
that,
my
and I
spon
don't either. At one
with my
time I spoke to
sponsees,
him and I pulled on my necklace just because I do
right?
that sometimes. He was terrified I was going to pull a cross out, but it's actually just a turtle from
It's a
Hawaii.
turtle.
But I swear, when I was just talking, and I'm just going like this, and he is like, oh no. I just want to make sure that we don't use what is helping us, what we believe in. We're not using that to
No,
hurt anybody.
it's a spiritual program. Again, I emphasize the spiritual aspect. How you and your how,
I do too.
and it even and on step 11, it even says in the program, sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him,
Hmm.
praying knowledge for His will for us and to carry that out. Now, I've heard of female Al-Anons refer to their higher power, she. So it's not, it's your understanding of your higher power. And
That's
that's,
exactly
and
right.
however, it is extremely important, at least for me and my personal, that one does have a higher power. Now, we also do have people who are agnostic or atheist, and
Right,
that's an understand. We do have people in program who are agnostic or atheist,
right.
and they can, yeah, and they, they can deal with it with their, and they'll work with a sponsor who has that same belief. I I I don't know what it is to be agnostic. Even when I was in contention with God
Yes,
in my youth, I still believed that He existed. So I aligned myself with a sponsor who aligned themselves with a higher power in that regard, right? So, but the program is flexible. There's no
I know.
shoulds, you have
I
tos or
know.
whatever, but it's recommended.